let's just do it. Hello guys, and welcome back to the Bear Strong YouTube channel. This time, for the first time, I'm filming a podcast for YouTube, and so far it has been an absolute disaster. I left my stands at the gym for my camera, and I left my microphone, and I'm not taking enough advance to be able to put this audio, which is recorded in this, onto the camera just yet. I'm going to have to figure that out at some stage, but at the moment I ain't that smart, so we're just going to wing this and we're going to see how it goes. Hopefully it's a good enough quality for you guys watching YouTube, but if it's not, turn the volume up a wee bit and bear with me until I learn stuff, because all this is pretty new. The podcast has gone quiet for a while. I have to hold my hands up and admit, simply because there's been a lot of stuff going on at the moment. Anybody who sort of follow through Instagram and stuff like that can see that Bear Strong is getting very busy at the moment, which is brilliant. It's amazing. It's exactly what I've always wanted. It's what all the hard work has been for. I'm just trying to work things out and learn to manage it. As well as that, I have noticed with my podcast, I've always had a bit of a lack of direction in it. It's just been an additional thing that I do. But it has had a lack of direction, and I sort of went back and rethought it, like, you know, what do I want the podcast to do? And, you know, I look at what I use podcasts for, what I do, what the main reason why I listen to people. And the main reason why I listen to people is because I want to learn, I want to motivate, or I want to change my mood. So I need to get something in the bag a wee bit. So that's the same thing that I want this podcast to be about, and this podcast to be able to help you guys. So what I've decided to do, I forgot to take my tablet this morning, excuse me. What I've decided to do is, I keep hitting everything, I'm so sorry. So what I've decided to do is, the podcast is now going to be a mindset and mental health podcast basis only. So yes, we'll talk about this, we'll talk about that, we'll sort of talk about what's going on, but it is primarily going to be used for mental health and mindset. So every podcast we're going to look into different sort of areas, and giving loads of tips and advice, sort of telling stories and stuff like that there, to really try to mentor and to sort of help people out there. As I've said before, I don't like my YouTube and my social media always being about mental health, because, like, to be honest, it's so depressing, and that's the last thing I want. Yes, it is a mental health brand. Bear Strong, of course, is a mental health brand. Yes, our YouTube is a mental health YouTube channel. I just don't see the benefit of always talking about depression and anxiety. It needs to be covered, it needs to be talked about, help and advice needs to be put out there through it. But I think it has the opposite effect if it's all that we're always discussing, and that's why I like my YouTube to be different, to be fun, to be about what's going on in my life, because at the end of the day, the story, Bear Strong, like, and what Bear Strong is made up of, and what the message that Bear Strong delivers is the message that not to quit, don't give up. See if I can remember off the top. I was doing a talk there the other day. I said a quote when I was doing a talk the other day, and I was like, that's really good, but now I forget it. Oh, I said to the girl, I said that suicide could have cost me my happiness, which, alright, it's not the most elaborate saying the word, but, or quoting the word, but when you think about it, it is quite a hard-hitting factor, you know, that in the depths of depression, if I would have succeeded in what I tried to do, it would have actually cost me my happiness. I wouldn't have got my happiness in the long run. So, as I say, the story Bear Strong is all about trying to show people that how you can rise up, that how you can find happiness, that it's possible for us all, that even from the depths of depression and the darkest of times, that going forward, you can find happiness and you can succeed in whatever it is you want to do. So with saying that there, new mental health podcast, new Bear Strong podcast, starting today, episode 1, what I want to cover primarily today is motivation, because it's something I get asked about quite a bit. So today we're going to talk about motivation. We're going to look into, you know, how do you become more motivated? How do you keep your motivation? And, you know, it's a question I get asked so much is, you know, I wish I had your motivation. How do you get motivated to do this? And how do you get motivated to do that? And this is what I'm going to work through today and talk about today. All right, you guys on YouTube need to hold your piss for a wee minute, because I've paused the podcast until I put the intro in. But as I say, I'm not tech savvy yet. So I don't know how to put this audio onto this. So just hold fire. Wee minute, but like I said, that if you're watching this on YouTube, you're getting a wee bit extra, or like, so it's all good. Can you hear that? Bear Strong. Okay, so today, as I say, we're going to be talking about motivation. And it's something I get asked about quite a lot, you know, how do you stay motivated? I wish I had your motivation. First of all, you know, it has to be made clear that people who are saying that are always seeing me on social media mostly. People who see me training, doing talks, seminars and work. You know, I pride myself in saying I am a hard worker. I'm not a 9-to-5 worker. I'm probably more a 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. worker. You know what I mean? I do long periods of work throughout the day. I'm not a morning person. I don't work well in the morning. I'm saying that it's like 11:30 now and we're not doing too bad. But I'm not a great morning person. But when I get home at night, my mind goes nuts, and that's where I'm most productive. So it's where I do most of my work. And I don't mind sitting up to 2-3 o'clock in the morning doing work. You know, I lie in bed to 8 or 9 to make sure I'm getting enough sleep, and then get up and get stuck back in it. It works for me. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. I'm happy enough doing it. But regards motivation, you know, like, just bear in mind, for some people, you are seeing through social medias the training, the seminars, the talks, and you know, my days are filled with a lot of work, stressful, doubtful, worrying. Like, it's hard to stay motivated, and it just does not come naturally. It's just not naturally in me every day. I'm definitely motivated every day to want to achieve what I want to achieve, you know, but you just don't always wake up every morning motivated. Motivation isn't something you just have or you just get. It's something that you work to have, something that you work to get, and you really have to train your mind to bring motivation in. So what I want to talk through now is a process I want you guys to sort of, just to switch back a wee bit. If anybody's driving, listening to this here, don't like totally switch off. But like, you know, if you can just sort of think into your own head here for a minute while we sort of go through this. So if you're somebody who's suffering with motivation, if you're somebody who's in a bad place with depression and suffering with motivation, it's a wee bit different. But, you know, it's actually more understandable for people who are in that position. But in general, like, let's take a look. Let's go into your motivation room, okay? So I want you to go into a room, not literally, by the way, in your mind. I want you to go into a room, put a chair in the middle of the room, okay? And this room at the moment is sitting with 4 walls, no doors, no windows. It's just 4 walls and no lights. It's a dark room and your chair is in the middle of that room. And I want you to use what is going on in your life, what positive things are going on in your life, what goals, dreams and aspirations that you have, to start to bring life into that room. So you're in the chair in the middle of the room. There's no lights, there's no windows, there's no doors. I want to think of your long-term goal, what it is you want to achieve. Think about that, and then that gives you a door. Maybe you have a few long-term goals. So maybe you have a career long-term goal, maybe you have a family long-term goal, a sporting long-term goal. The more long-term goals you have, the more big goals you have, add more doors into that room. Along the journey of succeeding them long-term goals, I want you to think of all the small things that you have planned to achieve. I want you to think of short-term goals, things that you need to achieve to get your long-term goals. So let's think about, for example, if I wanted to win World's Strongest Man. For me to do that, I need to win Ireland's Strongest Man first. Small, long-term goal. I need to go to a Giants live show and get top 3. Another, still pretty big, but it's not the biggest long-term goal. And then I need to qualify to get to the final. And then I need to win the final. So there's a lot of doorways, there's a lot of short-term goals, a lot of goals on the way to the lead up to that big goal. Use them smaller goals, the goals that you have to go through to achieve your big goal, use them to put windows into the room. Then I want to look at the inspiration that you have. The visual inspiration and the mental inspiration that you have around you and that surrounds you and that you have in your life every day to remind you of them goals. I want you to fill the room filled with light. Now, why I'm saying this here is because the room will never change unless you have a clear outlook and you have goals in mind. You know exactly where you're wanting to take your life and the journey you're wanting to take it in. You'll not have motivation unless you have that. You just can't wake up one day and be motivated, because what the fuck are you going to be motivated to? You don't have a foreseeable goal and a future and dreams and aspirations to get excited about, to motivate yourself about, to desire to work hard to achieve. You need to have that. Now, I'm sure we've all been in a position where we have the room filled, and then slowly but surely darkness starts to set into the room and doors start to close and windows start to shut and the room starts to go back to the way it was. Now, that's a different side of things. That's how we maintain motivation, how we keep motivation within our lives. And that's something we're going to talk about in a minute. Where the fuck did that noise come from? Turn you off. That's something that we're going to talk about in a minute. So what I'm saying is visualising yourself within the room. And for anybody who is really suffering with the sort of depression, anxiety, that is a big tool for yourself to take a look at, to look at what your room is filled of and what sort of light is shining into your room as in your life. And if you find that you don't have as many doorways as you should, if you find that there's not as many windows and there's definitely not as much light shining through, it's up to you to make that change. There's no pill that you can take to give you motivation. There's no one seminar you can go to give you motivation. This one YouTube video isn't going to give you the motivation to fully achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. Along the way, you have to feed it. Feed motivation, feed motivation, feed motivation. But let's take a step at a time, okay? So we've been in a room. We've either realised that, you know, we don't have as much focus, that we don't have a clear vision on what it is we want to achieve. So let's fix that. Let's really sit back and think, right, what is it I want to achieve? And along that journey, what do I have to achieve to make it possible? So I talked previously about sport. So let's go away from sport and let's just look at maybe financial, career-wise, business-wise, house-wise, you know, things that you want to maybe financially achieve. And to buy anything, to achieve anything financially, there has to be stepping stones. You can't go from having £100 in your bank to having £1 million in your bank. There has to be stepping stones along the way that can grow you and can achieve you into that. So again, you're going to have the end goal. Let's for example, say that the end goal is, what's a common thing for people? Car, house. Let's say car. You want the £30,000 car, the big fancy car. I'm just using this as an example, but maybe by this stage you know what you're talking about. You know it's your goal. And to achieve that there, you know, not all of us are in the situation where you just walk out and fire 30 grand on the table and buy a car. You look at things you need to change and you need to adapt in your life to make something you really want become possible. You look at things that are holding you back, or things that are bringing you down, the negativity in your life that is stopping that from becoming possible. And you start to filter that out. You start then to bring in positive things that are going to make that possible. So maybe there's a career change, maybe there's overtime needs to come into play, maybe there's education needs to be done to move further up in the job role, or to know more about sales, to know more about marketing, to create more income. You know, maybe there's things that you're sort of wasting money on, like, you know, do you really need it? You know, things like, it's hard to believe that people are still paying TV licenses nowadays. Just stop watching Channel 1. It ain't all that good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I grew up absolute soaphead, you know, with a family, you know, Cornish Street, EastEnders, all the rest of it. You know, it was mainly your 1, 2, 3 and 4 were your main TV channels. You know, and people are still paying £150 a year for a TV licence. Just stop watching BBC. It's not all that. And 9 times out of 10, most things a couple of hours later are going to be stuck on YouTube anyway. You know, expenses like that, like unnecessary expenses, you know. Who's still paying for Sky nowadays? Like, seriously, there's so many free options, you know. Maybe unnecessary expenses with overindulgent expense. You know, you just know yourself that there has to be sacrifice. There has to be sacrifice to achieve the long-term goals that you want. Because if there wasn't sacrifice, then why do you not already have it? If there's nothing in your life you had to sacrifice, then why is it not already here? Because other smaller things are taking priority in your life. So, what's that noise picking up? So, we're looking at things now, okay, and hopefully by this stage, well, not by this stage, but something you can go away and think about when you have your long-term goal and your stepping stone goals set in place. How do we stay focused? So staying focused is a big thing. Like, I think one of the main things that I can sort of, and we've all been there, including myself, so I'm not dissing anybody, but one of the most common things with losing motivation is weight loss and transformations and things like that there. I have seen some of the most motivated people, including myself at times, have been highly motivated to make a big change, a big transformation in their body. And, you know, it goes guns blazing for a few weeks. It's going brilliantly. The scales are dropping. The 6 to 8 week mark is normally the make it or break it time. And, you know, it's totally understandable. It's totally fine. It's not necessarily a failure. It's just you didn't succeed this time round. And, you know, I've seen it in people who have tried this, tried that, give it 3 or 4 weeks here and give it 2 or 3 weeks there. And then the next thing, they just come in and they just crack it. They just do it, they achieve it, and they make these amazing transformations. And, you know, that's not because anything was different that time. That's not because they figured out the right way of training, the right way of dieting. That's because mentally they were far better prepared, that their lifestyle was in a better position, and they were just more mentally stronger to go through. Now, when I say mentally stronger, I don't think anybody listening to this here is mentally weak. You're not mentally weak. You just haven't understood the basics to it. So let me explain it like this here, okay? You don't need to be a big sport and strongman fan to understand this, but it's just something that I compare to because it's something very relatable to me, okay? So, say the average Joe came to me, and I mean the average Joe isn't just somebody who's never trained before. They come to me and they say, Chris, I want to win Ireland's Strongest Man. Okay, that's definitely possible. We can definitely make that happen. That's going to take a lot of work, but we'll definitely make it happen. And they do a week's training, train for a week. They're not going to be ready for Ireland's Strongest Man. It's going to take a long time for them to train. It's going to take a lot of work. And it's going to take a tremendous amount of positive input to go into that person, both physically and mentally. But let's concentrate on the physically right now. So they're going to need to eat the right food. They're going to need to train the right ways and work the right way. And they're going to need to look after themselves. Those are the three key opponents for that person to get strong enough to win Ireland's Strongest Man. They're going to have to eat the right foods. And they're going to have to look after themselves so that they're strong enough and fit enough to be able to train. And they're going to have to work and train the right way to be able to achieve it. Now let's put that into, let's flip that round and show how that relates to your motivation and keeping your motivation. So, you want to stay motivated. Like the guy who's trying to get to Ireland's Strongest Man, you need to fuel your mind with the right fuel, the way he has to eat the right fuel to physically get stronger. You have to fuel your mind with the right fuel to keep you strong and to keep your motivation at the forefront of your mind. So what I mean by that is, life will come into place, okay? Negative things and bad things will come in and be in the forefront of your mind, hopefully temporarily, which will sidetrack you on your main goal. You need to constantly keep positivity coming into your life. You need to constantly keep good vibes coming into your life. You need to constantly remind yourself of your goal. Remind yourself of why you want it. And I'm talking daily. I'm not talking every week you sit and have a wee daydream. I'm talking every day, maybe sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. You need to remind yourself of why you want it. You need to visualize you achieving it. You know, you need to give yourself all this fuel which keeps your goal to the forefront of your mind when the world and the negativity and the shit that we have to go through day to day is flooding around you. In the forefront of your mind all the time is what you want to achieve for you. That is the most important thing. That is your fuel. The same way the guy trying to win Ireland's Strongest Man, that's his food for his body to get stronger. This is your food for your mind to get stronger, okay? Looking after yourself, it's the same way this guy has to look after himself so he can get stronger, so he can train right. You need to look after yourself too. So in the process to achieving your goal, whatever it is, don't burn out your body. If you get tired, if you don't get enough sleep, if you overwork yourself, if you don't spend time to rest and relax, your productivity and whatever it is you're trying to do is going to be shite. It's just simple as that. A tired version of you is not the best version of you. It can't be. It's impossible. And then we look at the training that this guy has to do and compare it to your motivation. The work that you put in, knowing that you're progressing the right way and you're working the right way to be able to achieve your goal, and clarifying that with yourself when you go to each of them smaller steps we were talking about earlier on, and achieving them. And as you achieve them when you go along, it's more reassurance of, I'm fucking getting here, I'm doing this, I'm going to achieve this, this is actually going to happen. And you get excited, you know, I mean, your motivation's just like, it's just like you stuck another gallon of petrol into the bonfire. Do you know what I mean? Every time you make them small steps, it's just assuring you that you have this inside you to do this. When I just said that, it reminded me of a big thing. That is so important that you show yourself throughout this journey, whatever your goal is, whatever it is you want to achieve, that you remind yourself and you show yourself that you have what it takes to do it, because everybody does. It's as simple as that. Like, everybody has the ability to achieve whatever it is they want to achieve. Unless it's a physical restraint, which is different. But mentally, everybody has the ability to achieve what they want to achieve. It's just knowing the right way to go about it, being able to put the work in and be able to look after yourself while you do it. So when I said about feeding your motivation, like how do we do that there? Well, for me, you know, as I said just in this podcast, I like to spend a lot of time listening to motivational videos, motivational talks. For me, one guy I connected with really well was Les Brown. I've always listened to Les Brown for a long time. He's been very, very motivating to me. You know, motivational speakers, I don't always agree with everything they say. I don't all agree with everything Les Brown says, but like I connect with him really, really well, and he has helped me out in a massive way. And when I'm sitting listening to that, you know, when I'm listening to that positivity, and I genuinely try to do it. Like I got up this morning, I was pretty wrecked this morning, and I just got the feeling that you're going to send emails here and you should be getting up and getting on with things. So the first thing I did before I even looked near my phone, I just turned on some motivational talks, and like YouTube's full of it. Just search motivational speaker and like our motivational talks or motivation videos or something, and all these talks will come up, and you just sit and listen to it, and like some you like, some you won't like, but positivity is going into your head first thing in the morning. Visual reminders of what it is you're looking to achieve is a huge thing, and that's something that I've always done. I used to have up in the gym competitions, the names of competitions I wanted to win. I used to have pictures of my competitors in my bathroom, maybe on my bedroom wall. So when you're waking up in the morning, you're looking, you're like, you know, that boy's wanting to meet me. That's who I have to beat. So get up and get fucking your ass to work. Same with goals, you know. I used to, I always wanted a big SUV, you know, a nice big Jeep where I felt comfortable driving it and a bit of style about it and stuff like that. And I had them pictures put up so I visually saw them every day, which boosted me to work hard and keep my work ethic up. Visualization is a huge thing. I know a lot of people who use that, and it works really, really well for a lot of people. Throughout this process, one thing you need to be aware of and not ready for, because I wouldn't say you should sit back and like be waiting for it type of thing. Failure's going to happen. Setbacks is going to happen. If you're trying to push yourself in any way, expect there's going to be failures and expect there's going to be setbacks. It's as simple as that. You'll not get away with it, and if you do, will you please tell me how? Because you know, it'll happen with us all. You'll not get that straight road. Like, I am 100% not at all scared to fail. I've learned from failing. I don't like it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to welcome it. But, you know, I have learned from failing time and time again. I've learned from failing, sorry. I've learned from failing time and time again. It's one of the best learning curves you'll ever have is failing at something. Because when you fail at something, you know not to fucking do it the next time, or you know what to change it to make sure you won't do it the next time. So, like, 110%, like, don't be scared to fail. Like, failure is a shitty word, because it's not failure. You just learned something. You just learned it a harder way, basically. And sometimes we need to fail to learn, you know, because, like, how many times, especially as a kid growing up and as a teenager, many times have your parents told you something and you'd be like, aye, all right, dead on, and you went on ahead and done it yourself. It's the same with me. Like, you know, people have told me things in business and stuff, and here, watch it for that, I wouldn't be doing that, and you know, you're like, fuck off, I'm Chris McNunn, you know, I can do this, you know. It's that whole motivated head. It's a good way to be, you know, to have that strong level of self-belief, and then you understand why they said what they said, and you're like, I should have listened to that there. But you've learned yourself, you know what I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, one of the things that I really hate is how people are so scared of hearing no. What is wrong with hearing no? Like, if any question you have to ask, anything that you're wondering, if it's a general question, we don't really care about somebody giving us an answer that we didn't expect or maybe didn't want. We're just like, all right, well, now I know that. But people are really, really scared of being rejected or being said no to in general in life and business, career-wise. So I can tell you now, out of all the work I do, out of all the interviews I go looking for, you know, of all the articles that or people I've asked to magazines, newspapers, you know, TV shows, of all the people I've emailed about talks, you know, of all the businesses that I've emailed, of all the schools that I've emailed, I would say 9 out of 10 are no's. 9 out of 10 are, I would say probably 9 out of 10 are no replies. But anything, you know, 9 out of 10 is basically, maybe not no's, but like, no, not a success. Do you know what I mean? Every 1 in 10, I'll actually get something back that's, yeah, that sounds great, let's do it. And I'm fine with that. I've just learned that that's the way the world works. It doesn't matter who you are, what you're trying to do. You know, well, maybe if you're like A-list celebrity, shit gets a bit easier. But like, you know, you're going to get no's, and don't be bloody scared of it. You know, it's not really relevant to this here, like, you know, but I think one of the biggest no's in my life that I used to get was a no for rejection, regards being out in the pool or being a night out. And some of it, I remember I was in Napa years ago, long story, but I ended up running into a pile of guys. And one of the guys says to me, so I was a bit nervous to chat somebody up, and one of the guys said to me, he was like, so what? Like, if it's a no, it's a no. Like, it's not a big deal. Just move on to the next one. And I was like, I suppose he has a point. So I went up. It turned out I didn't get a no, but like, there have been other times that I went in with that same mentality and been like, nah, not interested. I was like, okay. And then, so what? It's just a no. It's not a big deal. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't take it so hard that it hurts your pride so much. It's like, it's unrealistic to think or to hope that everybody in the world, oh, why have I got such a cough? It's unrealistic to think that everybody in the world is going to say yes to you all the time, because like at the end of the day, do you say yes to people all the time? No, you don't. So why are you hopeful that you're going to get yes from everybody else all the time? You know, same way with me, but work-wise, you know, people have asked me for interviews and I said no. People have asked me to do things and to host things. I said no, because it just doesn't fit in with what I want to do. It's nothing personal to them. It's just not something that I'm into doing. But, you know, say it was an event and I was asked to go to the event and to host it or to take part in it. And I've said no, but I've still went along to watch the event. It's nothing personal. It just doesn't fit in with what I want to do. And it's the same way when we go forward to try and achieve something in business and sport, whatever it is, and we get a no. It's not a no directed at you personally. It's just a no that doesn't fit in with what they're doing. You just don't work together. Simple as that. It's not a big deal. So let's recap this here. So for motivation, the first thing is you have to realise that it's up to you to put the work in to keep yourself motivated. If you do it, it is a huge tool in your trade, and I suggest you put the work in to keep yourself motivated. Main thing is set your goal, set your long-term goal. Make sure you have a clear focus on what it is that you're actually wanting to succeed at. When you have that clear focus, set smaller goals along the way, sort of stepping stones that you can hit, and instead of, whoa, that didn't go on standby, did it? No. Sort of smaller goals along the way that you can reassure yourself as you go along, and they're goals that should mean nearly as much as the big one as you achieve them bit by bit. It's an amazing thing when you do it. Like there's no better motivation at all. Like, keep your motivation fed. Get rid of negativity, as much negativity as you can. It's never possible to fully get rid of negativity. And keep loads of fuel firing into your mind. Keep filling your mind with why you want to do this. You know, if you want whatever it is you want to achieve, chances are there's going to be stories about it. There's going to be videos about it on YouTube. You know, wanting to be world's strongest man, there's loads of world's strongest man videos on YouTube. Wanting to be a successful businessman, there's loads of stories, videos, motivational videos on YouTube about people who became successful businessmen. You know, whatever it is, there's motivation everywhere. Put it into your mind every day. Literally, you could spend between 10 minutes and half an hour to fuel your mind every day, which will give you way more productivity than a day where you don't bother to, and you're not working the way you should because you're lacking motivation. Motivate yourself first thing in the morning. Get in, get stuck in, get it done. And just be prepared along the way that there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be failures. I hope for you there won't. I hope you get it there and you achieve whatever it is you want to achieve with any hiccups. That would be amazing. It's not always realistic, but... So guys, that brings to an end the first podcast on our new sort of look about the mental health podcast. The episode 1 was motivation. There'll be another podcast coming out next week where we move on to a different topic about mental health. I wrote down in my diary what it is, and I don't have my diary with me. And I can't remember. But I had it planned out. So we'll be back next week with another podcast. Podcasts are going to come out every sort of Wednesday or Thursday from now onwards. And techie wise, I promise that I will get better. Especially with regards to the YouTube side of things, guys. The YouTube side of things is going to be a wee bit basic for a while, but you know, just bear with me. Thank you again, guys, for listening. If you haven't already, make sure you go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Hit Spotify, hit what do you call it? iTunes, and subscribe to our podcast. If you haven't got your new Bear Strong stock yet, you see I'm representing the hoodie. Make sure you get onto the site www.bearstrong.co.uk/shop. Sorry to the YouTubers there, some inconsiderate person just phoned my phone and cut off my phone. I'm raging. Yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you go to www.bearstrong.co.uk/shop and get some Bear Strong merchandise. The new merchandise all comes with the slogan "to bear the burden of others," which is our mental health slogan, and it gets people talking, and that's what it's all about. Thank you guys again. Take care. Enjoy your weekend. Loads of love from me, and I'll see you guys soon. Lots of love, Bear.